Showed you Shiaght Laa, a smiley am sure Haltacha. She Robert de Carcelach Mish. Hello, I'm Bob Carswell, and I'd like to welcome you to a packed edition of Shiaght Laa. Tai Tashti Heed, Museum 100, the 8th Manx Bard, Michael Manning, and His Excellency the Lieutenant Governor Sir John Lorimer. Tashpinas Etchil Tulliu, an exhibition of etchings and more. Charlotte Jane Henry. As an Cooish, Feed Heed as Jesus Feed, and the Cooish 2022, and Greinneyder Ruth Keggin Gell. From the official opening of the Museum 100 exhibition, we hear a poem by 8th Manx Bard Michael Manning, and His Excellency the Lieutenant Governor Sir John Lorimer outlines the background to the opening of the Manx Museum in Douglas on the 2nd of November 1922.
This poem is called Tai Tashti Vannin. This is the treasure house, a century and more of growing house, a stone hearth with the old songs glowing house, voices on the sea and fields in sowing house. This is the treasure house, a bearing witness across time and space house, days bound into a greater story find their place house, flint and cross of ancient faith and race house. This is the treasure house. Creatures of the wind and weather house, bright beauty of the gorse and heather house, loss and loves and lives together house. This is the treasure house. The children's dance of pleasure house, the bliss of wandering in leisure house, a nation's mark and measure house. This is the treasure house. This is my house, your house, our house. Come on in.
As you've heard, the Manx Museum opened on the 2nd of November 1922, and it's the centenary celebration. Philippa and I have had a preview, and without giving away any secrets, it's a fantastic, wonderful exhibition. And if I could just say, through you, Katie, well done to everyone, and a magnificent exhibition in, dare I say, a magnificent museum. But if you look at the archives, the foundation of the Manx Museum and the Ancient Monument Trustees in 1886, and the Manx Museum building itself here in 1922, it wasn't quite as easy as you might think. In the 1860s, there was little appreciation or understanding of the uniqueness of the Isle of Man's heritage. There was no national museum. Whilst Manx scholars were working hard to research and protect the cultural heritage of the Isle of Man, some Manx people felt that their own history was so insignificant that the idea of a national museum caused hilarity. Surely, some said, there could be nothing of cultural significance to fill even one small room. It was an uphill battle for those wishing to protect the island's unique heritage. Now, they were definitely given a boost by Lieutenant Governor Sir Henry Locke, who valued the uniqueness of the island and appointed a commission in 1878 to study the archaeological sites of the island. This resulted in the formation of the Isle of Man Natural History and Antiquarian Society in 1879, led by Manx scholar and the first curator of the Manx Museum, Mr. P.M.C. Commode. Now, these scholars devoted themselves to rescuing and explaining the island's heritage. Their work uncovered such astounding artefacts that people did start to take knowledge, and an Act of Tynwald established the Museum and Ancient Monuments Trustees in 1886. And the trustees' mission was to preserve the Isle of Man's cultural heritage and to build a national museum. So began a 30-year struggle to find a permanent home for the national connection. The next Lieutenant Governor involved in this story was Lord John Henniker, at the turn of the century. Now, it appears that he was frustrated at how long it was taking to establish a national museum and the lack of impetus from government, obviously not like today. Golly, careful. Nothing worse than ad-libbing, is there? He tabled a Tynwald debate in 1896 to get a grip, really, and to further the agenda, and argued that museums should be properly funded by Tynwald. He was also frustrated that any cultural assets found on the island could be taken off island, and any treasure trove would be taken by the British Museum, as was the case when a Viking treasure hoard was uncovered in 1894. So let me quote Lord Henniker from a debate in Tynwald on the 16th of December 1896. So he said, "We are constantly losing not only antiquities, but specimens connected with the island, which might be of the greatest possible use from an educational point of view. There could be no doubt a national museum would be a great advantage to the island, and as Manxmen, they ought to feel rather ashamed of not having one. What we need is a habitation for these things, a place where people having objects to hand over would know that they were not only safe, but accessible to themselves and other people who wish to see them." So Lord Henniker succeeded in getting funding, ensured that a temporary museum was opened at Castle Rushen, whilst a permanent home was found. And then the final Lieutenant Governor who played an important role was Sir William Fry after the First World War. And when he opened the Manx Museum on the 2nd of November 1922, newspapers report that he said, and I quote, "I think on behalf of all here present, we shall desire to congratulate the trustees of this museum on the fulfilment of what has been a long-hoped and long-worked-for event. That is the establishment of a Manx Museum. Everyone who calls himself a true Manxman or Manxwoman is, I am sure, delighted that this museum has been established at last, because it is more essential now than it ever was for all people who desire to preserve their nationality and their own character, that they should have a storehouse for their antiquities and history of the past. That has at least been accomplished." And he went on to say, "Some may think this museum rather small, but when you go around, you will find a very large number of exhibits, which we owe to the kindness of many donors. All museums must have small beginnings, but there is no reason why this museum should not grow. It has always been in the minds of the trustees that this should be an educational centre for the island. 1 hour spent in a museum will be worth many hours spent in book." So, in effect, I am standing on the shoulders of giants, lieutenant governors and Manx scholars who had the vision to recognise the importance of a museum on the island, specifically designed to collect, protect, preserve, study and exhibit Manx cultural and historical items of significance for the education and enrichment of the people of the Isle of Man. So with that in mind, and from small beginnings, it gives me a huge amount of pleasure to formally declare this exhibition, Manx Museum 100, formally open. Thank you very much indeed.
The 8th Manx Bard, Michael Manning, and His Excellency the Lieutenant Governor, Sir John Lorimer. Cúst de Vlinten de henne on Shiaght Laa, Gielschen en Eleanor Charlotte Jane Henry, seilje gemaakt na Virgintech ons Etchel. Ta linjegen, na urgen, Greinneyder les stu gort ons pleit menach, de gummel en du. As treed a paper corrit herrische pleit as te broodje regelia, te jollu fagit jet a faber. Te femergin u pleit urlu ro lau, jorish de glosa, de gedden reiris schrebigen as njau reid, jinnach kummel doen yes, Ach na Kierten ta Ellen Ergin o imagerid in jou jurgid Gurishen sa Jollo Jintok. At Studio 42 in Bayview Road, Port St Mary, there's an exhibition by artist Charlotte Jane Henry. With lots of chatter going on inside, Charlotte and I stood at the door as she told me about her exhibition.
It's mainly to launch my Manx Etchings calendar for 2023, and the etchings that feature in the calendar are displayed on the wall, and also Eben has helped to select some of my paintings to frame and go alongside them, so there's quite a selection of my work.
Now, the etchings, obviously, we had a discussion about your etchings, and you described the process to us previously in Shiaght Laa. But in addition to the etching, of course, you also colour them, so perhaps you could take us through that side of it.
Yeah, colour's really important to me because I think that helps to draw out the composition that I really want to highlight, because I like unusual views that really get my attention, and the colours help bring that to life. And I use light, fast watercolour paint, so it won't fade, and I enjoy that process very much.
The etching itself now, you see a view, and at some point you have to reverse the image so that you can start etching it onto a plate. What particular views attract you? What is it about certain elements of the landscape that bring you in to want to make an etching of them?
I like to choose a composition which is very unusual and different, so that the eye is drawn into a way of looking at it that might be different to the way other people see it, perhaps, and it might be hopefully enlightening. It enlightens me anyway to see my own island in a different perspective, and so I sometimes alter things around a little bit, and if I see a composition I like, I might sort of change the angle of where certain features are, move it around just to get the overall effect. So composition is everything, and I often see them when I'm out in our little camper van, and I'll just stop and say, yeah, that's it, that's the place, and then do a quick sketch and a photograph or two, and then take that essence of having been there and actually seen it and put that into the etching. You know, if people like them, that's a bonus. I just do it because I love it.
And it's quite a physical process, quite a visceral process in a way, etching, and what you put into it is not necessarily what you get out of it either.
No, that's what I like about etching, especially using nitric acid on zinc, because it bites quite quickly, and you can leave it to have bite sort of unusual effects, which I like. So I have an idea of what I'd like the etching to be, but in fact I let the medium do its own magic, and so sometimes I end up with something that is quite removed from my initial plan, but is still based on the composition. The actual printing is very physical, turning the handle to produce a print of each etching, but they're all counted as originals because they're hand done and hand watercoloured. So when people hear the word print, they think, oh right, like photocopying, but it's not. It's an original piece of artwork created specially each time. But I have got rheumatoid arthritis in my hands, and so turning the handle on the etching press is quite difficult for me. Yeah.
Apart from the etchings on the wall, you also, as you mentioned, have some of your paintings. Now, again, they're very much of the landscape. It's something that you're very passionate about.
I am. I'm very passionate about our island. Always have been. I've got Manx roots and was born here 61 years ago in Douglas, with Manx ancestry all the way back to the 1700s at least, and it's just such a wonderful place to live, and I'm inspired by the land and the seascapes. Of course, there's a lot of sea around the island, and I think that just is inspirational in itself. I never take anything for granted. I've had a lot of things happen in my life, and so every day is important and special to me, and every view is special.
And apart from the etchings and the paintings which people are able to buy, they can also take away a sort of souvenir in a way, as you say, in the 2023 calendar.
I hope so. I hope they like it. And yes, it's a selection of views that perhaps are unusual, and certainly the process is unusual. So the reproductions in the calendar are pretty unique, I suppose. And certainly they're available as a memento of the exhibition throughout 2023.
Gormai Mora.
Gormai.
Charlotte Jane Henry, and her exhibition can be seen at Studio 42 in Bayview Road, Port St Mary, where you can also buy a copy of her 2023 Etchings calendar, produced with the support of the Isle of Man Arts Council. And as an added bonus, the exhibition, which continues in Studio 42 throughout November, also contains artwork by Shane Lucas. Gau yn Cheshachilgach toiach der cummel leich blaen oil ons cunnion J. Ned Madrill, rare Corl and Aramach Robert Thompson, hug yn chyd leich Ned Madrill, so vlein naichi jegas kier fi de she. Nai blien yn y san mi, tref a Phil Gorn the screw der den Cheshachilgach, hug e bun felia gilgach, de chummel tachert nelia mushen tref an leich Ned Madrill de way jint, as heng shen de way enmesich and Cooish. The Manx Language Festival, the Cooish, started yesterday, Wednesday the 2nd of November. There have been events today, Thursday the 3rd of November, and this evening there are 2 more events taking place. Here's in Greinneyder, the Manx Language Development Officer of Culture Vannin, Ruth Keggin Gell, to tell us about those and about the rest of the festival.
So the one at 7 o'clock is taking place in the Methodist Hall in St John's, and it'll be a great song evening, a really, really good chance to go and listen to the creative, musicality of the Bunskull Gilgach and Munjavega. So it's a jointly run event that evening, and you'll hear performances from the likes of Greinneyder, the Manx Gaelic Community Choir, through the Bunskull. And also hear the children singing, and also have a chance to have a sing yourself as well. So they'll be getting people to join in with some much loved songs. So you can come along, have a sing, or just listen and enjoy being part of the audience. So that's completely free to go to, 7 till 9 o'clock. And then after that, there's a Manx conversation session at the White House in Peel from 9 o'clock onwards. So if you've got some Manx and you'd like to come along and practice, or if you're a fluent speaker, they're open to everybody to come along and join in, a lovely friendly group. So come along after 9 o'clock to the White House.
And Cooish is taking place all over the island, and on Friday the 4th we move up to Ramsey.
The Cooish is organised by lots of different language organisations and individuals as well, coordinated by myself, but with everybody's input. There wouldn't be a Cooish without everybody taking part and doing things. So that's really represented by the fact that there are lots of events all around the island. So up in the north, or down the north, I should say. In the morning, there'll be a Manx language conversation pop up at 10 o'clock till 11 o'clock in the Mad Hatters Cafe, and that's in Ramsey. That's a nice group to come along to. And then just after that, meeting around the corner, just by the penny farthing shop on the green there, you can go along for a walking tour in Manx around Ramsey, and that's from about 11 a.m. That is weather dependent, so just keep your eye on learnmanx.com/Cooish just to make sure that it's not cancelled if there's awful rain. So those are taking place up or down in Ramsey. And then in the afternoon, we're going to Peel, afternoon and evening. So there's a lunchtime's listens session, and that's taking place in the House of Manannan in Peel, and that's at 1 o'clock, and that's free to go to as well. And what that is really looking at the language recordings that have been made over the years, and they've been digitised. And so Nicola Toombs, who's the assistant curator at Manx National Heritage, will be playing some of the recordings, talking a bit about how they were made. And they're really popular, these lunchtime listen sessions that Manx National Heritage do, and this will be a real treat to go to in the Cooish. Nicola's great as well. And in the evening, there's a wonderful event, and I love this one. This made me smile so much last year I went along, and it's called Cruinnech Vananach a Shiaght. And if anyone's ever been to an ice Stedford, like at the Braid or something like that, it's a bit along those lines. So super, super informal competitions. You can get up and have a go, or you can just sit and enjoy being part of the audience. And there's all sorts of stuff. There's spelling bee for children under the age of 14. There's a song class. Anyone can get involved with songs. If you have a couple of songs in Manx, why not get up and have a go? A stump speech in Manx. There's even a bring your best buffet item class and a dialect poetry class as well. So that'll be lovely. It was one of the best, I think, events at the Cooish last year. So this is back by popular demand. People had really wanted it to happen again. And that's £5 for adults and £2 on the door for children. And it's organised by Cooish. And you can find the programme online as well, so you can find out all about the classes. And if you want to come along to that, that's at the Corran Hall in Peel at 7 o'clock. Cruinnech Vananach a Shiaght. On Saturday the 5th, there'll be an event up in Laxey between 11 a.m. to 4 p.m, and that's called Cooish Cavan as Crew, and that really represents what's going on at the event. So it's things like refreshments, which is represented by the cavan part of the title, meaning cup. So you can go along and enjoy light lunches and cakes and teas and coffees provided by Munjaverga. There's also craft to buy, Manx language crafts and books as well. So that's sort of the crew part of the title. And you can go along and play games. There's easy games there in Manx, have a bit of clorta, some conversation, and have a bit of a cooish with other people. And there's all sorts of information from different language organisations too there. So you can find out about different organisations, what they do. And there's even story time as well for children throughout the day at 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30 and 3:30. So children can come and listen to a story in Manx. And lots and lots of other things and activities for all the family to do. So come along to that. That's completely free, and that's taking place in the Institute in Laxey throughout the day, Shiaght Laa, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. On Sunday the 6th of November, there are 2 Christmas song workshops. So there's one at 11 a.m. until midday, and that one's really aimed at beginners who've maybe never sung in Manx before or have sung a little bit in Manx, and they don't have to be Manx speakers to go along to that. They're easier Christmas songs with repetition and easier lyrics there. And also at 2 o'clock, there's slightly more in-depth songs that are being taught. So I've put kind of more for intermediates, but it's really for people who want to get their teeth into maybe more of a carol or something like that. So we'll be having a look at some traditional Manx carvels, and that would be really great for any parents at the Bunskull, for example, who go along to the Christmas service and want a little bit of a helping hand before the Christmas service to just go through a couple of the songs there so they feel nice and confident. So both of those are happening in the West. The beginner class, 11 a.m. to 12, is at the House of Manannan, upstairs in the St Patrick's Isle suite, and that's free. And then the second one, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, is happening at Cooish Manx, and that's the one which is for more confident learners. And you can just book by emailing me, gilg@culturevannan.im, or just going to the website, learnmanx.com, right through to the Cooish page, and you can find a sign-up link there, just because there's limited space. So it'd be great to have those sign-ups. And then just the last event of the Cooish is More Calortis. It's always good to have a chat, and that's at 3 o'clock till 4 o'clock in Green's Cafe in St John's, and that's organised by Shiaght Laa. Everybody's welcome, and come along for a cup of tea, Gavin the hay, and a bit of brie and a bit of cake.
Good on my morning.
Oh, should it be?
And Greinneyder, Ruth Keggin Gell, telling us about the Cooish Manx Language Festival, continuing this evening, Thursday the 3rd of November, and through till this Sunday afternoon, the 6th of November. As Shiaght Laa, we come to the end of this edition of Shiaght Laa. So from me, Bob Carswell, as myself on Peen, Robert a Carslach, sledding you.